and he's gotten a lot of ratings. Everyone loved his last appearance. So I invited him back again so he can talk about politics, because that's something that was a controversy in our last session for a lot of people, and I enjoyed it. So let me see if we're really live like it says that we are. Yes, we are. Good job. All right. How you doing, Judge?
How you doing, my dear? I'm doing all right.
You doing all right? How's your day today?
Bleak, getting cold. Weather's changing. About to lose daylight saving time. I don't like that. Gets dark
Yeah.
too damn early when it does.
So what you been doing today? Have you been reading the paper or listening to the news? Because I
I
know
don't read that most of the
say.
time. I just get the feeds from the raw data, the same thing the news services do, because I don't need any ignoramus that knows far less about the subject than I do to start telling me what he thinks of it. I'll get it myself.
So what's the latest? What's your view on the politics that's going on? What's the latest?
Typical, the American public is dummied down and become emasculated to too great an extent. And they're into, oh, love, and I feel good, and I hate news that makes me sad. Well, that's the only kind worth listening to. Want to see something else? Go watch something on the Comedy Zone. Anyway, what it just infers is everybody wants to be told everything's all, not everybody, but too many want to be told everything's all right, and feel good, pat you on the head, let's protect you from realities, and oh, I don't like the way he said that or she said that because it was too crude. So what? You're crude any damn way. You're ignorant, you're illiterate, you don't read, you're stuck on stupid. So who cares? Except for the fact that you have choices to make, and too many of us are not capable of making sound choices because we use our emotions today instead of the head.
Instead of the head. So you think the emotions make us make some not so good decisions, right?
Yeah, I mean, like one of the debates going on right now is the Biden stuff from that crackhead, Hunter Biden. Left a laptop in a repair place, didn't come back to get it after the time had lapsed on the contract for repair. The guy just said, hey, maybe I need to look into this. And he found some stuff. And what is more disturbing than what's on there is the fact that it's on there. There's some stuff that would be subject to being classified as secret, and you got a damn fool crackhead with access to it, and it's on his computer, and that's just bad. The next thing is it's outright extortion and bribery that's being suggested. And frankly, from having been in this criminal justice thing for 50 some years, it's enough to convene a grand jury. The other thing I was just letting you listen to,
Mm-hmm.
they got some interesting confirmational stuff sent to Fox, and they had it shipped to their reporters out on the West Coast. And between the time it was shipped by a reliable carrier and it got there, it disappeared. The shipper indicated that somebody had opened the package and all of the contents were taken out of the package, and they didn't have a lead on who had done that. So go figure. Other thing people are reporting to me is that on media, when you start talking those charlatan asses, the jackass party folk, that is what that damn emblem is. It was the donkey, that's the jackass. So the jackass party folk, anytime you start discussing them critically, things start happening and there's interference, signals get dropped, and everybody's got to reestablish communications. I hope that doesn't happen here today, but
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is. So um, there's something else on the media that I think people should look at, particularly if they can access the American History Channel, the Smithsonian Channel, and the Military Channel. For the last couple of months, they've been running stuff on the Nazis pre-World War II. And if you look at it, it sounds very uncomfortable very uncomfortably, like what you're hearing now.
Mm-hmm.
Nazi stands for National Workers Socialist Party.
Okay.
And that sounds like the left wing, which it is. And they had a big homosexual component, which they had to get rid of when they had the Night of the Long Knives and they killed off Rom that ran the SA, or the brown shirt stormtroopers. They had movies out that they're showing now, newsreels, and they had naked men showering and soaping each other down, talking about the glories of homosexual life and leave the women for reproduction. So they had to get rid of that component. But the other thing too was, if you read the headlines, they're letting you look at from 100 years ago in Germany. They read like what you get from Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram now, in terms of, we want a nice, clean, comfortable discussion and nothing that makes anybody feel bad. So we'll edit this out so only those things we think are relevant will come through. That's the same kind of, let's say, censorship, not about obscenity, that led to them being able to be in charge. And then it took a war to find out what they had been up to. And I listened to a long thing the other day on a channel I don't like to go to and a subject I don't like to deal with. And they were trying to say all of this strange queer behavior is legitimated by scientists and experts, and they say it's normal. But then again, interestingly, not an hour after that, I was looking at something and they were talking about the Nazis with eugenics, and that is, some defectives have to be weeded out of the human race, and experts and scientists claim this is what's needed and necessary and appropriate. Same thing, you take full science and try to legitimate something that's poison, and you get the same result. And they were the experts at tell a lie long enough, loud enough, and often enough, and you can get anybody to believe it. And that's kind of what I see has happened with the United States over the last 50 years, particularly with black folk. We have been bombarded with propaganda glorifying dysfunction. And from a high 50 years ago, when if you wanted to be a black man that had it going on, you were in college, you had a job, you got it together, you protected your community,
Mm-hmm.
to a glorification of pimps, hoes, drug dealers, rapists, burglars, robbers, con game runners, and those who want to gangsterize the community that they live in instead of protecting it.
Let me ask you a question, Judge Joe. Let's go back to the beginning when you said we had a crackhead in leadership or trying to
Yeah,
be
he
in
got
leadership.
discharged from the military for being a crackhead, a dishonorable discharge. 4 months later, he's an executive with a big company that is doing business in Ukraine. In the Ukraine, he has no business acumen, and the stuff coming out of the laptops reveals a lot of email exchanges between himself, his father, and others. And it's discussing how he can use dad's influence, and dad's going along with it, while he is the vice president who's been assigned to deal with negotiations with the Ukraine. Specifically, there's $12 billion in loan guarantees that the U.S. said they were going to put up for the Ukraine. And they're discussing how he can use threats to cut it off, amongst other things, to back that prosecutor off of Hunter Biden and the
And
company he worked for.
who's this person that we're talking
Hunter
about?
Biden. They're talking about there was a prosecutor that was zeroing in on corruption.
Mm-hmm.
So there were some discussions about Hunter Biden being the target, and Daddy is basically sending code that he's going to get them to back off and deal with the threats to the loan guarantees for $12 billion if they don't. And then
Mm-hmm.
there are some percentages that would go to Dad and the Biden family from the crooked uh, extortion results. And then you got it with the Chinese. So now the Chinese online official newspaper is releasing screenshots and photos and other stuff. And I mean, it ranges from the salacious all